how's it hanging, my garage gym geeks, Peloton peeps, and all of the rest of you fitness freaks? Man, what an unexpectedly eventful week we just had. Garmin released its first quarter financial results for 2024, boasting a huge 20% increase over last year, largely in part to the success of its most recent sports watch, the Garmin Forerunner 165. Wahoo has opened up pre-orders for their much-anticipated state-of-the-art treadmill, the Kicker Run. But of course, it's Peloton taking over the headlines as usual, with Barry McCarthy stepping down as CEO, as 400 employees are let go, and the stock nosedives, bringing Peloton's market cap to under $1 billion for the first time ever. And there's even more, so sit back, relax, hit that like button if you appreciate what we cover at Connect the Watts, and let's get started. Garmin has released its financial results for Q1 this year, and not only did they beat last year's first quarter by 20%, but they also beat sales in its fitness category by 40%, a lot of which can be attributed to its most recent release, the Garmin Forerunner 165. And it's not hard to understand the popularity behind the 165. Unlike Garmin's other AMOLED sports watches, this is the one thing that really stands out to me with the 165. Do you see it? Yeah, it's that price tag starting at only $249, which is hundreds less than even the next tier up, not to mention many of the models which cost closer to $1,000. The Forerunner 165 seems to have hit the sweet spot with enough features and battery life to make it feel like a worthy Garmin, but at a price point much more in line with people's wallets. So now between this and the Coros Pace 3, there are some seriously impressive sports watches available in that lower price range, which is great, allowing better access to some of the latest in fitness tech to many more people. And speaking of Coros, they released a brand new sports watch last week, the Vertex 2S, which I reviewed as well. And while it isn't a budget-friendly watch by any means, it is definitely the best watch Coros has ever put out. It looks better, the sensors are more accurate than ever, the battery, which lasts around 36 days, is freakishly huge, and did I mention how good this thing looks? At $699, it might be a bit pricey, but I'm a fan, and I think it's still worth a good look at for serious athletes. Now, speaking of pricey but worthy fitness tech, Wahoo has opened up pre-orders for their much-anticipated treadmill, the Kicker Run. At almost $5,000, it might seem a bit overboard for a treadmill, but given the specs and features this treadmill delivers, the price is actually significantly less than any comparable alternatives. Most importantly for you faster runners out there, the Kicker Run can deliver speeds of up to 15 miles per hour, which is a big deal for those that need the additional speed. There's also an auto-adjusting incline, which can quickly change the gradient from -3 to 15%. The treadmill also tracks a lot of great metrics that most others don't, like cadence, ground contact time, vertical oscillation, and side-to-side positioning, not to mention the coolest feature here being a run-free mode. So with this, there's a sensor that analyzes your position on the treadmill, and the closer you get to the front of the treadmill, the faster it will get, and the more you fall back, the slower it will get, essentially allowing you to run at whatever pace that you would like without having to manually adjust the treadmill speed itself. So just a very state-of-the-art piece of fitness tech, probably the most exciting new treadmill we've had in a very long time. So anyways, to pre-order, which started May 1st, you can pay with a $500 refundable deposit to reserve your place. Also, speaking of brand new home fitness equipment, Force USA has released a new all-in-one trainer called the Force USA C10. The C10 is the first of its kind with a center cable system, 6 cable connections, and a dual 200-degree adjustable upright pulley. To make sense of that for you, it's basically like some of these other all-in-one trainers that we've seen announced this year from Rogue and Rep, in that this has that 1-to-1 cable ratio available for both the lat pull-downs and low rows, but it also features over 400 pounds in weight stacks, as well as having that integrated safety bar and squat rack. And at $3,999, it seems very competitively priced for what is being delivered here. But man, are they making the decision about which all-in-one trainer to get nowadays very hard. Between them, Rep, and Rogue, they're all stepping it up this year with improved designs and similar prices, and each one really seeming to do something a little different. So best of luck trying to choose between them if you're trying to get one. And now let's dig into what is probably the biggest Peloton update over the past year or two. So this Thursday, Peloton announced their most recent earnings report, and despite the numbers being pretty much what everybody was expecting, what we weren't expecting was Peloton to lay off an additional 15% of its employees and for Barry McCarthy to step down as CEO. Now, I've given old Barry a lot of shit on this channel, and to be honest, now that I've had time to reflect on his 2 years as Peloton CEO, I regret not giving the dude more shit. And it's not just because of his insistence on using boat analogies every time he talks. The guy just plain sucked at his job. In his final letter to shareholders, there is a section which reads, quote, "I outlined 3 priorities for the business. 1, stabilizing the cash flow. 2, getting the right people in the right roles. And 3, growing again. Together, we've achieved the first 2 of these goals. I'm counting on you to achieve the 3rd goal, growing again, next year." Which, okay, Barry, so yes, you did finally stabilize cash flow, but only after laying off well over 50% of your employees, and then, even after you said that was no longer needed, you laid off an additional 15% on your way out to finally meet that goal. Now, I'm not saying people didn't need to go. Peloton did need to lay off people, but that was pretty much all you ever did. You didn't increase sales at all. You didn't increase long-term customer value at all. You didn't improve on customer acquisition costs at all. So yeah, I guess you achieved that goal, but anybody can fire people. Well, except for John Foley. So I guess you were a step up from him. And then to say you achieved your 2nd goal of getting the right people into the right roles. Who are you referring to? Like, seriously, who are these mystery people? Because from the outside, it really only looks like the right people helping the company were already there before you jumped in. And finally, at least you admit you didn't achieve your 3rd goal of growing Peloton again, because yeah, Peloton has just continued to do worse pretty much every quarter since you jumped on board. Anyways, Barry's now jumped the deck. Alongside it, he'll be receiving an additional $5 million in severance and stock options, so not a bad send-off. Meanwhile, 400 more Peloton employees will be laid off and will now be looking for new jobs. The Peloton stock for the first time ever has dropped to a market cap of under $1 billion, but it did then quickly bounce back as investors began to realize that getting rid of Captain Barry was probably a good thing. So now what happens? Will somebody step in to buy Peloton? I still predict Apple will jump in to purchase it sometime this year. Let me know what you think will happen in the comments below. Oh, and then we have the CEO of Echelon, Lou Lentine, now speaking his mind about Peloton's latest predicament, telling the Post, quote, "Peloton needs somebody who knows the industry. I'm running the same company, but smaller, and we are doing the same things every day, but better, with fewer employees and less debt." Which, okay, first off, I've met Lou a few times, and while he definitely is a guy who is passionate about what he does, he's also a little bit crazy. Not batshit crazy, but like your uncle who always talks about Bigfoot sightings crazy. Somebody you could talk to, but you gotta be in the right state of mind. So yeah, of course he thinks Echelon does everything the same as Peloton, but better, which anybody who's ever taken a single Peloton and Echelon class knows that's not really close to the case. But it is true. Echelon does do something smarter in many ways financially, especially with partnerships. But I don't think Peloton is going to be bringing Lou in as CEO anytime soon. But if they did, to be honest, I do think he'd probably do a better job than Barry. But that's a pretty low bar to set. In the meantime, Peloton now has 2 temporary CEOs from their board, Karen Boone and Chris Pruzo, who will each be receiving $150,000 per month to do who knows what until a new CEO is found. And now let's dig into some of the best deals of the week. So just because Peloton is hurting as a company, it doesn't mean that I don't think they make great product, because they do, and they are currently having a Mother's Day sale with a standout deal being the recently released Peloton Tread for $600 off. Yes, it's still very expensive, and no, it's not as high tech as the Wahoo Kicker Run, but it is probably the best feeling treadmill to run on, and of course integrates directly into their high quality classes. Now, if you're looking for something a bit lower in price, NordicTrack is also having a Mother's Day sale with $100 to $500 off most of their bikes, treadmills, and ellipticals. I've seen a lot of their sales over the years, and I think this one is a bit better than average, so definitely peek over there if you're trying to expand the cardio section of your home gym. And finally, I would suggest checking out the Averon Go. This is one of the best connected fitness rowers out there, and at only $1,299, it's the only one at a price that I think is competitive with the popular Concept 2. For a limited time, Averon is now throwing in a pair of air conducting headphones that sits above your ears, which makes the deal even better. As always, this is Colin Jenkins with Connect the Watts. Appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time.